Today is June 12th, 2024. It is Wizard Wednesday, channeling in from the Quantum Downs. This is Dotta, and up on stage with me, we've got lots of friends. Introduce yourselves. I'm joined by...
Yo, what's up? It's that guy who can't seem to ever get away from Jitsi.
Hey.
Your faithful marketing wizard, Entropy. Hello, everybody.
Hey.
And your community kobold Tad.
Wow. It's the four of us today. Anyone is welcome to come on stage because we are missing both a bear and a goat today. They are international men of mystery. Bear in particular, he was in Austin, and then he was going to Zurich in Switzerland, and then he was going to I think he's in London right now. I think that Bear and Niski had lunch today, and that was really amazing. And well, yeah, they're not going to be here because they're sleeping. Because I think it's like 9 o'clock in Europe right now. So, but we've got a big show today. We've got plenty of stuff to talk about. There's a lot going on in the market. There's a lot of things that we are working on. So, yeah, I mean, with that, let's just dive in. We've got some cult questions. We got a bunch of cult questions coming up. So we've got one from Henboyd, and Henboyd says, "Will the market dynamics play a part in the decision to launch the upcoming game and tokens like in the past, or is the schedule set?" Oh man, so this schedule is always in flux. The current. Oh man, I don't want to give a schedule, but we should have an announcement within the next 2 weeks. That gives a bit more of definite stuff. I mean, on this question of like, does the market play a dynamic in the decision? I mean, I think always it's a factor, but I think that like one of the things that controlled the factors of like some of the mints is like one of the problems that when you have like a giant mint, right? When you're like, oh, we're gonna do a mint, and the NFT mint meta a lot of the times was like, you better mint out the whole thing on the first day. In fact, even the first hour or two, or else the project was completely failed, right? And I think that's a bit like pathological in terms of a market dynamic that's really unhealthy, right? Like, in what business do you expect like the entire revenue for the year to happen within the first 10 minutes, or else the business has failed? So, like, thankfully, we're kind of like moving on from that into, well, I think in gaming, for example, is has a lot more signal around like regular growth over a longer period of time. So I guess what I'm saying is like the market always has its say, right? If we start World War III and Bitcoin drops back down to 20K or something, like that probably changes people's plans. But I also don't think that because we're not trying to do this sort of like huge mint to the same degree, it's not going to be the same kind of like continuous delay where we're withholding things. If anything, I'm actually a little more inclined to launch things when it's slow, because then it feels like it gives you a chance to kind of the ceiling is far above you, so you have a place to grow, and I think that's really like the next phase that we're wanting to go into. So yeah, thanks for your question. Let's see, I saw Matto was coming up here. Matto, I'll bring you back up. You can talk about the game. Henboyd has a question. Is Nalgene up on stage? He has a question about the comic. Maybe you guys know. When is the next issue of the comic being released? Guys, when's the next one coming out? Oh, you're there. Oh,
yes.
Man, you're here through the Goblin Town account. I don't know why. That seems like silly, but fine. Good. Glad you're here.
Yes, it is silly, but I am LARPing as Goblin Town until I get unbanned on my main Nalgene account. So
why are you banned? What did you do?
It's a great question. I refreshed my Twitter on my phone like
he knows
4
what
days
he
ago.
did.
No, I didn't do anything. It's an attack from the Quantum Downs, infringing on my free speech.
I gotta say that I do have like I am getting kicked out of Twitter like every like randomly, like twice a week, 2-3 times a week. I'm just like kicked out of Twitter. I'm like, what is going on here? I didn't sign out, so I can understand that.
Yeah, it's
Very
been giving me the security heebie-jeebies when that's been happening to me too. I don't know how many times I've gone in and like carefully looked at everything. I'm like, am I relogging in to the correct website? God help us.
Yeah.
Actually, on that point, though, you guys know me and my daily weekly activations for our Wizard Wednesday space, and it's time again. I'm going to ask you to like and comment and share the space. But for your comment today, let's all tag Elon Musk in the comments and ask him to please reinstate Wizard Bottle, Nalgene's account. Give it back. Free our man. He did nothing wrong.
Free Nalgene.
Thank you, Engagement Entropy. I really appreciate that aside as
Okay.
well.
I shared the space up top, so give it a fave, give it a bookmark, give it a retweet.
To answer Henboyd's question, we do not have a concrete date for the release of issue 5. It is on the 1 yard line of assembly, just getting some final approvals on cult content. So I don't have a precise date for you, but I will happily post it in the Secret Tower or DM it to you or whatever that might look like.
No problem. But yeah, it's all in progress, right? So like I think we can share this, that the issue 5 we have a draft of, issue 6 we have inks. You know the updates. Maybe you could walk through where we have like
Happily.
the proof, the inks, the story, like where each issue is.
Certainly, yeah. So I would say that issue 5 proof is coming later this week. Issue 6, out 40% of pencils are done. Story is obviously complete. Issue 7 story is complete, and Riley's playing it out as well with Joe. We had all the scripts written for the entire 10-issue series initially, but as things have changed and stories have been developed over time, Joe's having to go in and kind of edit the storyline per issue with Riley, and I think overall it's a better outcome at the end of things. But including some new Wizzies and working in some fun Easter eggs.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on all of them. For the Igdal had a question, which is around like the trade paperback, right? So the paperback that we're doing actually has the first 5 issues in one book, and he was asking which issues is going to be in the book.
Sure thing. Yeah. So, and I saw your aside there, Igdo, by saying that the previews were saying 1 through 4. It's always been my understanding that issues 1 through 5, the ones that have been published by Titan, are going to be included there. Issue 0 kind of is an auxiliary. So yeah, it's 1 through 5. But I will double check why previews are even putting that sort of information out. So I'll let you know on that front as well.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. Cool. So some other questions that we have here would be, let's see here. Okay, Malevolent is asking when Dark Flames. I love that idea. I have so many flame ideas. We're just gonna have to wait. I think that like a key thing about flames is like if there was any other like different flame, you would have to like use the existing flames. Like I'm never gonna do like flame inflation, but the idea that your flame might go dark, I think is really interesting.
Flame adjustment, maybe.
Yeah, flame adjustment. Maybe you've got to burn a couple of sacred flames to get a dark flame. That seems like something I would love
it.
to do.
All flames must go. Two flames for one.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, there was, and there was some good discounts on Wizzies today. I saw, congrats on some good pickups. I saw like Zone, Curator, Mystic Bard. I know Meeple Dad got some Broken Toys and Stefan. So yeah, there's some good Wizzies. We're probably missing some on that list, but that was fun to see.
Yeah, definitely fun to see Wizzy shopping. It's
yeah. I like people selling into bids doesn't bother me. I think that like one of the principles that I kind of have is that like selling is just like buying by like stronger hands at a different price point, right? Like it's not like the idea here, especially in like blur bids, is someone actually put a bid saying, well, I'm willing to pay this for Forgotten Runes Wizard. And so it's not like, if one person leaves the cult, another person joins. I mean, I think even this morning, a lot of the sales weren't even people leaving the cult, right? It's just a rebalancing. So I think I'm not really that bothered by it. I think that it's good to see it spread around. I think if anything, I hear complaints from people from the outside saying, Wizzies are too diamond-handed. So, yeah, I think that was fun to see. It's good to be back on the front page of Blur. I mean, I think when there's no volume, it's just like feels kind of it's nice to be there, I suppose. Another question? Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Sorry, just to follow up on that. Yeah, it's something that you often can't find specific wizards or trait sets or heads that are available. So yeah, a day like today, there's like a big influx of things to bid. So I know there were a lot of people who felt like vultures and like circling around, what had fallen to see what we could pick up. But yeah, super interesting dynamics of this market. I mean, he's had those wizards for so long. I can't blame him for letting some out, but just more decentralized, spread it out into more wallets. And I know some people are pretty happy with what they picked up. So
I
kind of a bittersweet, but a cool
I
outcome.
really need a Wolfkin, a Scramps, and a Vamp. Those are like the three that I like can't believe I don't have. That I'm like constantly uh yeah.
I think I can find you a Scramps, Doda.
Okay.
I'll poke around a little bit. I know where a couple of them are laying.
Okay, amazing.
I gotta second that too about the sales today, and Tad in particular. Yeah, like this like conscious choice to release some Wizzies that have been locked away for a while versus what we've seen unfortunately and over the last couple months is a couple of those hacks too. And I
Right.
know that I managed to snag a couple of rare warriors just because of bids that I had out, but felt very conflicted, getting those from a hack. And of course I made sure to offer that up to whoever had lost them at the time, if you're interested in getting them back. But imagine it's a little bit more fun for the Wizzies who picked up something that was voluntarily sold today and
Yeah,
entered their wallet.
100%. Like my hacks are so tough because like your heart goes out so deeply to the people that were hacked. But then the very obvious problem from like a founder's perspective, like I think every time someone gets hacked, I'm like, man, we should have a program for like hack restitution. But then like anytime you think about that, it's like immediately it'd be so easily gamed, right? Like it, each wizard is relatively expensive in terms of like dollar value, and so quickly, like to have a meaningful kind of rescue, there are a few people that were kind of close enough that you're like guaranteed that it's honest, but then like for it to be a broad program, there's just like no way of helping, right? And then yeah, if you buy someone's stolen wizard, then it's like, well, I think it makes a lot of sense if you buy it and then the person wants it back like that same day, that same week. That makes so much sense. But then now you have this awkward thing, which is like, well, how long? Like you feel like you can't get attached to it because you're like, well, it's not really mine, it's theirs, and how long do I have it? So it's just when people get hacked, I just feel so bad, and it creates such an awkward situation.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough spot because I mean, there's a lot. I will say the Wizards are better than maybe any community I've seen about going in and scooping things up and trying to get in touch with people to recover what they can. But yeah, there's always kind of that little flag on it, not even from OpenSea, but just yourself. It's like, I've nabbed this thing off of someone else's, misfortune. But then it's on the other side. You have the bot farmers that are in there, and they are going to dump it to a higher wet bid, or then we're going to pay more for it and try to get it back to that guy. And it's just, yeah, with the blend of the open market and then us trying to help out one another, we do sometimes get caught in the middle. But it's cool to see how many times people have reached out and lent a hand and held on to something for a while just to try to get it back to the original owner. But yeah, gut wrenching is the word I use for any hack. It like hurt, even if it's nothing to do with me. It hurts so much.
Yeah, I'd way rather have somebody just like decide to sell their collection than someone be hacked any day, any day. Meeple Dad's requesting come up here. Let's let him up, of course. So, Jitsi, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the gaming topics? Right, we've got a few gaming topics in the works. So, just to throw out some ideas, we've been talking this week about the Beacon. We've been talking about the Arbitrum Gaming Fund. Today, do we want to talk about the Faraway Land? and people's perspectives on that. So yeah, maybe we could start with like the beacon. Jits, tell us what's
Heck
going on
yeah.
there.
Yeah, so I'm like trying to order a pizza as in the spaces, but I'll pause this. Yeah, no, the Beacon came out with their next iteration of what they're doing when it comes to like play to airdrop. I'm super impressed by them. I've been for a while, but this next iteration they have is what I believe. I mean, is one of the best ways to approach Web3 gaming, in my opinion, which is kind of like make it an easy onboarding process that feels fun while you're learning and playing the game, while there's an expansion of the world too, right? Like you basically are able to play the next 2 weeks or so, not timed events, but it unlocks over the course of the next 2 weeks. And like each day, you basically can run it up to like basically roll one loot box. And in that loot box, you can have a combination of ARB tokens, medallions that are for future allocation of their token, prestige points, and like a couple other things, right? But it's like, pretty straightforward. It's easy to grasp, get you to sign up, and so they can track some metrics, and they're doing really well. Like, I mean, I think Diego just posted like 80,000 daily users, right? And like, I'm not entirely certain if that's people that like went to the website and like went to the app versus like went into the game and actually played for a second. But regardless, right? Like, it's like 80,000 unique wallets that are doing these things, and I think it's well done. Like, I was excited to try it.
Yeah.
I tried it. I think it's beautifully done. I love the music all the way down to special effects. It's just good, right? Like, it's just fun to see some teams really nail on head get it, and it feels like this is one of them.
Cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed like any of the times that I played the beacon, and I thought that they do a really good job. And what was the collab that we had with them? I
Yeah.
noticed that you tweeted about it. But I don't actually know the details.
Yeah, so like really early. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I'm on the team is like Fine Gaming collabs is like on right as they were launching, they were like partnering up with communities, that were native to the space. And I love when teams do this because I think it's like speaks to the collaborative effort that a lot of people here are for, regardless of like what you're in gaming, IP, whatever it is. We just had a conversation and like, get to know them, and we just got our IP in there. Like there's exclusive items that you can have in the beacon that like ran for the 2 week or 3 week instance they had, and that you can't get anymore.
Mhm.
So it's like there's a chimera in there, there's a cobalt doll, and then there's one other item, but it's like there's only like a couple hundred of them in the entire game. So if the beacon does well and continues to do like what they're doing, those items could be really exclusive and really rare later on, right? So it's just like a fun cosmetic play that could result in like maybe it has value later if the game does well. So it was just like a fun nod to Wizards. Anybody who was there could claim, but then again, not everybody claimed, right? So now they're exclusive items.
Cool.
Oh, I definitely have a Cobalt Doll. I know that I played it long enough to do that, even though I really enjoyed the game, but my laptop at the time was really lagging with it, so sometimes it was hard to play through. But I did some grinding. I had to get the Cobalt Doll.
It's so good. Yeah, you can like claim with each one of your characters you had, I'm pretty sure, and I had like 4 or 5 characters, so I have like a lot of the items, and it's just fun. I talk to the team
You
quite
got
often.
corner in the market. I like it.
Sorry, my dog's going crazy.
That's a weird sounding cow.
I hit the weird sounding cow, right? Yeah. I mean, beyond that though, I mean, there's been a lot of conversation just today, for whatever reason, about like, is crypto gaming dead? Like, I'm not even gonna like entertain the idea or thought or like really want to talk about it in particular, but anybody who thinks it's dead.
Wait, what's the topic? I didn't quite
Oh,
hear you.
so this is like that crypto gaming is dead. Like a couple people went on the timeline today.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever
There
heard.
you
So
go.
ahead.
Exactly. I completely agree. And it's like anybody who sees where crypto is now compared to even like a year ago, to think that it's dead is just like bait farming and trying to engage it with people like for the wrong reasons. So, I mean, there's not much to say other than gaming's in the best spot within this space it has been within years. It's just that simple. There's more play to earn, play to airdrop events happening. I'm able to like, once I'm done with stuff with Wizards, like log in and just like start playing games for tokens. Like that, I don't know what else to say. I'm gaining monetary value and playing these games on the side. It's just, and there's more and more popping up left and right.
Yeah, my feeling is that like it's just so early.
Yeah.
Like, everybody who's built a serious game tells you that it takes more than a year, right? It's often 2 years. Is that you start it thinking you can do it in 6 months, and it takes 2 years. And again, like we still are, we're still barely in kind of the L2 years where the price per transaction is to the level that you would want it to be. And so I think that like we haven't really had enough time for people to build games. I mean, we've been working on our game for close to 3 years now, and we're just now going to have like live service by the end of the year. And so this idea that gaming is dead, crypto gaming is dead, is just feels nonsensical. Like, especially when you like, it's easy to think that when you look at some of the games that are not very good.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's tons of pop
But
up and they're great. So.
Yeah.
Well, I think
yeah,
another
like
big
you were.
part of this piece of this is this idea around like like tokenomic incentive systems. So there's this idea that like um, okay, so when you had the movement from like let's say desktop games to free to play on mobile, they invented new monetization systems, and there was like thousands and thousands of games, and there was only kind of a handful that was able to get the distribution necessary and like figure out the monetization. And crypto is going to be the exact same way, because when you expose your economy to like an interoperable economic system, that's really really hard to get that balanced properly, right? And to make it not feel like it's just play to win. And so truly we haven't had enough time of games being out long enough to figure those things out. I mean, yes, like we can all look back to the MMOs of old and World of Warcraft and RuneScape and Ultima Online. Like we can look at those economies, but still, like the point of why we are doing crypto is the like economic composability. And I don't know if there have been any games at all right now that have economic composability outside of like what the founding team has done. So yeah, too early to call that in my opinion.
Way too early. Yeah, we still need to have like I think we need to have key games, and then we have to have those key games start to interoperably like connect with one another, and then also have like the communities within those key games build off of those NFTs, right? Like that's the whole goal here, right? That it's like it gives more freedom to the players and it gives more immersion to the gameplay and stuff. And like we're not going to really see that until we actually see like games really come out. And when we see like these games come out and like they build enough of this fan base that they have like this potential to tap into like that, right? Because it's like it takes a long time for games to come out, good games especially, and like it's been said before, like it's definitely longer than 2 years, even 3 years for a lot of games. I think a lot of people outside of the game dev have a very poor understanding of how long it takes to make games. Even within game dev, there's a lot of people who have like I see if you've ever funded like Kickstarter games before, this is like a huge problem with like Kickstarter games where like the team is like pretty inexperienced, but they're like, yeah, we have some good programming experience and like we already have like a demo of our game out, and they way underestimate how long it's going to take. They put out like a timeline of like, yeah, we'll have the game if we reach this amount of funding, we'll have it like 2 years, and then like their comments are like spanned with like all negativity like 3 years down the line. It's like, oh, this game is never coming out, blah blah blah, and in some cases it doesn't, but like in other cases we end up getting stuff like Shovel Knight, and we end up getting stuff like Omari, and we end up getting stuff like Hollow Knight, and like those games took way longer than like their initial like time lapse was. Ended up taking years, and like Omari's case was like 7 years or something like 8 years, right? But like, and that's a pretty simple game, yeah. And it's a single player RPG. Like it's not like they're doing like a huge MMO or anything, right? But like it just goes to show you that like game dev takes quite a long time. Even within the industry, people kind of like mismanage like or like misunderstand how long it will take, and like the scope constantly changes as you add stuff and whatever. So I think we're just now seeing like a lot of these games direct like they've had enough development time that they have a decent build to show off, and it's still far from like the final builds of what these games want to show off, right? So it's like we're getting there. I think when we get there, they'll reach a point where it will feel like it's like it was naturally there, but like it's still so early. The beginning of mobile games were pretty much just like burp apps, fart apps, right? And people like pay for your in-game fart or whatever. It'll be a bit before we.
Yeah, and I think that like the game that really breaks out in crypto is going to be well, it will just feel like a game in the first place, and then you'll like ease into the crypto features afterwards. That like I think the game that we want in crypto is a game that Web 2 players just play, And if you never figure out like how to do a wallet, it doesn't really matter. Or, even, well, we're just barely starting to see even smart contract wallets, right? Coinbase wallet just released their smart contract wallet like last week, 2 weeks ago. And you can imagine a situation where users are able to play the game, and their smart contract wallet is used within the app, so it feels like you're sending money with like Venmo or PayPal or something. But you're able to like play the game, craft your items, and then sell them for like real money. And I think Farcaster, I think, is a glimpse of what it might be, right? Like you can sign up for Farcaster and use it, and then it feels like Twitter, but what you're using is a crypto app. And I could imagine a game being like that. That's what we're aiming for with the Universe game. It is a game that you can just sign up, play on your phone, log in, and then it's crypto under the hood, and that's part of what drives the underlying.
I would say like pairing the incentive structure is going to be really important for like all games, right? I just think each one's going to excuse me, Artemis, let's not do that. It's going to be tailored to like, okay, never mind. I guess we already come
Really familiars are revolting.
gaming, I guess. But I think there's something to be said about the fact that like some from casual to hardcore games will all look different. And it's on top. It's the job of the team, of developing team and whoever else, to really like land in on an incentive structure that makes sense for the audience that's playing it, right? Like I think one of the big question marks I have personally is like this constant conversation between who's currently here, which I believe to be at some level like a hardcore player when it comes to the tech side. They're even thinking about the gaming side of it, right? It's like people that are in this space are hardcore. Yeah. But then you also have like this conversation about casual players who we know that they're playing in abundance. Like, what point do they swap over here and play? What point do they care? And I think that like is down to like the incentive structure and how it's placed in front of people, right? Like, I very much believe once you have a younger audience playing games and making tens of hundreds of dollars consistently, that changes overnight. But at the current state, like where we're at, it's hardcore players that are going to be moving like the particular markets and like the everything else, right? So it's just like this constant conversation that's happening, and I think we're like really polarized between casual players and hardcore players, and not much in between right now. But the casual players aren't here yet, right? So like, but at the same time, like those incentive structures can really sway how you dictate, like how you put the people in particular boxes of like how they are as a hardcore gamer versus casual gamer. So I love the conversation. I can rant about it forever. I just think it's very interesting. I just think a lot more hardcore players are here than like that are mentioned, right? Like there's like grinding out games a lot of the time without saying much.
Yeah, I think also public perception, I think, is slowly changing a little bit to be like not really crypto positive, but at least more neutral on crypto. I think that AI has taken a lot of like the anger out of it, especially because after FTX, people just they did their victory lap. Yeah, they did their victory lap. Okay, crypto's dead. We knew it was all a scam, and that proved it was a scam run by some like polycule that was high on amphetamines all day, right? And so like everyone had to laugh at that. And, like, I feel like after that, like people cooled off because they're like, all right, cool, crypto's dead. And now they're angry at like AI now. And now that crypto's come back, I haven't really seen much of that anger like come back like in response to it. I feel like actually like I recently they were like I posted that there were like a lot of art sites that they were like PayPal was banning a lot of these sites because like these sites have like 18+ content on them. And so like as a response, a lot of these sites were pretty much saying we have to block 18+ content on our site now. And that was making a lot of artists that had like revenue, because a lot of artists make revenue off of that stuff. So like it was a huge like backlash or whatever. And like one of the things I brought up in those threads was just like casual, like, hey guys, I know you guys probably don't want to hear this because like last cycle you didn't want to hear this, but like this is part of the use case of what crypto is for, right? Because it's like you don't have a payment processor that's just going to be like, we're going to blacklist your entire site because we don't like what's on your site. You can just accept payment from anybody anywhere without having that consensual, like their third party needs to consent. And like the response to it was a lot more positive and a lot more like inquisitive than before. There are people who are like, hey, I kind of didn't give crypto a thought beforehand, but this is interesting. Like, can you tell me more about it? And like the sad thing is like we aren't in a state yet in UX and UI that like I felt comfortable with being like, yeah, here's how you like create a wallet and here's how you would fund it, right? Like it would just be like my first response was pretty much like probably stick to just like using Coinbase and like sending money to people like from Coinbase or whatever, right? Because that's like the easiest, most like Web 2 basic way of doing it. And I feel like we need to get to a point where wallets are just so intuitive to use, even if they're just self-hosted, right? Just like your own wallet, that it's pretty much like sending like Venmo. And I think like we're not there yet. So like if we're not even there yet, it's really hard to like justify for like a lot of Web2 players to come in and like actually start using the crypto side of it. So like the best place is probably just start with games that they just feel fun without crypto. And then like slowly as we get there, then people just naturally start being able to use it. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a gap before people are ready to get here. I think what I was able to get across to people the most in the past about like what crypto gaming could be is just EverQuest or World of Warcraft, where you actually like own your assets in a way that now with new wallet abstraction and things that they don't have to do so many extra steps or jump through so many hoops, it might be more feasible. And until there's like a system like that out there, until there's a good game where you own all your items and you can go and grind or
Did I just get
quest or do
rugged,
whatever
or
you need to do. Oh, did I get rugged?
No, I can hear both of you.
Oh, I just sorry. I think until
thank you for your
I
thoughts,
guess you
man.
can't hear me. I guess until a game like that really comes to market and there's something that's super playable that people get into, but then they also can experience that sort of access
Dare we
and like
talk
ownership of
about
items
Faraway?
and the
Algene,
ability
Oh, I got
to
the.
sell and to trade and buy things that way. I think that's going to open up like an entire new understanding of like what self ownership could be. Like if you own a sword that then you can sell on a market easily and like replenish either gold in your account or money in your bank like that. I think that will resonate with a lot of people. And to say that gaming is dead before we've even like had anything of that nature come out, I think is ludicrous. So yeah, I think we're super in the infancy, but there's a lot of things that have happened in the last 6-8 months that make it a lot more feasible.
I just want to fish. All I want to do is fish for hours. Let me catch a rainbow trout.
Yeah, I think a lot of people when you bring that point across, a lot of people say like, well, it was already done with like like Steam Marketplace and stuff. Like, why do we need NFTs for it? And like the point is like, yeah, that's actually a great example. Like that's almost like it's like I like equate it into like almost like fax machine and email. It's like Steam Marketplace is a great starting point for what we're looking at, but you can extend those possibilities and the reach of it even further, right? It's like fax machine has the same basic purpose of sending documents from one office to another instantly, but like if you have email, then you can have more other things that you can do aside from just sending a document. And that's why I feel like it's like getting that point across as like it's not as if like Steam Marketplace is somehow like competing with what this idea is. It's like it's almost like it's like the primordial idea of what this is, except that that's still like a walled garden. You can break that wall open and have more stuff that you can do with it, So
Yeah, once you're able to embed links and things into all the programs so they're interoperable, it'll just be so easy to manage. But now, I mean, people aren't going to even move something from a wallet to a marketplace and list it. But if they could just list it in game, and all those things happen on the back end, there's just so much possibility out there, and it's just not even started yet. I think people are going to really love owning their own like digital items.
Still early.
It's still early. So do we want to talk about the faraway land? I think I'm kind of nervous because I don't want to like I don't think I have all the information.
Right.
But what's going on here, guys? Give us the scoop.
Yeah, an evolving landscape for sure. Watching it real time.
At the end of the day, like there's just one fundamental that like unless someone could tell me otherwise that this is doing to it's just like expanding the player base but also diluting everything, right? Like when the first action after the acquisition or whatever it was when it came to term.
Maybe give some context. Let's pretend somebody that's not up to speed. Can you give everyone
Sure. As far as I know, Faraway is offering like land. I don't know the number of how many can be bought or like what even the price point is, blah, blah, blah. But like they're opening up land that's connected to like LOTM when it comes to gameplay, right? And so like as of now, you had to have like another side to be able to play the LOTM event. But now they're like opening it up to another batch that's being sold to a wider audience, according to them. That's like to be able to basically up the player base. So it's like diluting anybody who bought another SAD that's playing it on LOTM. And like I don't know who's really asking for that or like why it's the first thing, but it's like it's this back to the conversation I had before, which is like are casual players actually here that want to spend 10 or 20 bucks on something that is like that is good for the project, like aggressively and like that's okay, versus like the hardcore players like the other side holders that are just like here either through gameplay or not gameplay, doesn't matter. They're like enough of a hardcore person to spend thousands of dollars on like digital property, right? Call it whatever you want to call it, whatever you chop it up.
So, but it like, did people buy other side land for like the heavy metal game, right? In my opinion, people bought the land to play in other side. So why is it that Far Away has an obligation for these to support these other deeds?
I think that is an argument that I've been seeing some people make in comments and quote posts on Faraway's post today too. Is like, the onus is on Yuga to provide value for the other deed land plots. That was not what they purchased from Yuga. The interesting part, I think, in all of this too, is somebody just recently asked a question. I think I saw Adam Hollander repost this. The similarity in visual style between the original Other Side deed
Right.
lots and what Faraway just
Yeah.
released is incredibly similar. And we actually have a comment from Garga saying that this was not authorized by Yuga. And I think that's
Oh.
probably the most interesting part of this for me personally.
Yeah, because when they posted their like thread saying like their explainer thread, they're like, we need our own land for new user acquisition. We need our own land for like lore, and like we need our own land for our own game. And I was like, that's all well and good, but then like, why does it look just like the other deeds? Like it looks like a low, like the wish shopping version of other deeds.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's another and interesting angle of this too that they addressed and Faraway addressed in their follow-up thread, kind of answering some questions that had arisen around this. And they noted that, they don't have the ability to build on the lore of the other plots too. So they, what are they supposed to do in this situation but create their own angle to tell the story too? It's very weird. It's very layered.
They should. Right. Well, doesn't it seem like the confusion is the fact that it's like land? So that already is like a contentious thing because there's already land. And then the fact that it looks so similar is like that feels like a mistake.
Yeah, I think so too, especially with the original price of Other Deeds compared to this price of a non-on-chain, a fully off-chain land plot that would be sold and
I think I
targeted at.
spent 15 ETH on my Coda.
Yeah, I know. I was a part of that boat in some ways too.
And there's
But
like
and then them in Faraway sort of directly explaining to people that like the object here is not to target Web3 gaming with this release. It's Web2 gamers that they can easily see spending $20 to $25 on a plot of land the same way that you would a skin in Fortnite. But you can't forget that baggage you've got behind you. It's a part of it no matter what you do.
I feel like I can understand that they want their own like deal, right? Like they bought heavy metal or whatever, they took it over, and so it's understandable that they need their own assets. Sorry, so I interrupted.
no, I
someone.
was gonna say like on top of that there's like 100,000 plots of land, so it's not like there's like a need for more land, right? Like they have 100,000. There's not even 100,000 people, nowhere near 100,000 people who are like looking to play the game right now, right? At least I don't feel that. So it feels like almost as if like that justification they use is almost like kind of like just like fluffy like language, when really the key thing is they felt like they needed an asset of their own, and they just kind of were like, yeah, we're gonna do this. And I also think it feeds into like our previous discussion too about like Web3 gaming in general, right? Because it's kind of like, well, what would give, if this is like the Web2 version of like their lands or whatever, and not the exact same thing, what would justify having the $20 piece of land that's a Web2 asset versus an actual NFT that people spent literally thousands of dollars on without even the gas fee that costs thousands of dollars as well, right? And it's like that difference would be like, well, if the game was out and there was already interoperability with those NFTs, and there's already community apps that are built off those NFTs and stuff, and you wouldn't get any of that if you just had like the Web 2 version of the land, right? Then maybe there's like a justification for it's like, okay, this opens up, and like you're missing out if you can get like this cheaper Wish version of it, but you're missing out because you don't get the full extent of what can actually be done with this. But the game isn't even out yet. The NFTs have no use yet. So it's like, it's essentially at this point, they are the exact same thing, or at least they feel like they're the exact same thing. So it feels like a lot of people are burned by it. But like this is where Web3 game can actually help bridge that gap where it's like there's a way for the Web2 gaming crew to have like a cheap entry into it that gives them some like, you know, some aspects of the game that they want for that price point, while also giving Web3 enthusiasts like a way to actually have an asset that's worth a lot more than just that game because it's useful outside of that game. We don't even have that yet. So it's part of like why it's so early, and like these things that would help make this discussion a lot more palatable aren't really in place yet. So it just makes it feel like a big slap in the face of everybody, you know?
Yep.
Make it free.
That makes
I
sense.
just like don't understand. I'm like missing a key thing for me is like if you're gonna charge, I actually have no idea if you're gonna charge for the land, right? Like the only time really gamers at this point are like paying somewhere between $20 to $50 in that price range, like let's say the casual player, is like if they have like a full game already created through Steam, they're like that's where they want to go play it, or Epic Store or something. So it's like if you're at the $20 to $50 price point, like you better have a complete game, and if not, like why just make it free to play? Like that's where I get confused. Right?
Yeah.
Like
the price point they're using is $2 through $20 or free. Those are the three numbers that they're throwing out: $2 to $20 or free.
You know,
yeah, it seems I don't have any inside information. I'm
Same.
just like reading tweets like everyone else. I think that like you can see from like Yuga's perspective that they you know they are trying to hand over heavy metal in a way that's like as thoughtful as possible, right? Like they're not going to just kind of like throw it over the fence and then say, you know, it's your problem now. And so I think you'll probably see I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit more coordination on the side after something like this. Like hopefully they'll learn from kind of the backlash and then realize what they need to update.
Yeah, I can see that. Hopefully.
So Entropy, you were talking about a show from Titmouse, another show that relates to like Familiar Friday. You wanted to catch us up on this?
Yeah, happily. Okay, so I've got to plug one of my favorite pieces of content outside of the Runeverse to come along in, gosh, the longest bit of time here. Some of you might have seen it already. It's called Scavenger's Reign. It is a animated show, 10 episodes long, that was originally it kind of originally birthed on the internet, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago, as like a 5 to 6 minute short. Interestingly enough, this was without any dialogue. It was purely SFX and really, really beautiful animation style. It was posted on YouTube and created by Titmouse, which is the same studio that Forgotten Realms has worked with around some of the animated show trailer and else. And I just think it is one of the best pieces of content that I've consumed in so long. So I found the animated short many, many years ago and loved it and have watched it a couple of times. And I was thrilled to find out that HBO picked it up for this 10 episode run to like build out the series with Titmouse and really tell like an expanded story that we were given in such a short snapshot through this animated short. And it's an amazing show. You can see the ties to the original animated short, but where they've also like really expanded on the world and built this out. And so for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, I'll kind of give you the quick recap. Effectively, the story is centered around these group of space travelers that are there's something has happened with the ship, and a lot of them are stranded on this foreign world that they have no real knowledge of, except that you find out very quickly that the characters have been here for just long enough and are just resourceful and smart enough that they know how to use the flora and fauna around them in just such a variety of ways that is allowing them to survive and work towards their goal of getting back to the ship and trying to leave this planet. And so the original short just follows two characters. In the full animated series, I think there's a full cast of like 8 or maybe closer to 10 characters. And it is such a fantastic show. Highly recommend it. If I think this group is very big on world building and really like immersive experiences with lore and sort of interconnected systems. And so I just have a really strong inkling that anybody who appreciates the cult will also appreciate the show. And the reason that I'm plugging it so hard specifically today is that HBO I don't know what they're thinking. They decided not to renew this for a second season. And so Netflix has come in and picked up the show, and you can go and watch it on Netflix now. A little bit, I think, generally more accessible. I think more people have Netflix subscriptions than HBO in this day and age. But um basically what is happening right now is, like, depending on the watch numbers that we see on Netflix, I think that's going to be a big playing deciding factor on whether they actually renew the show for a season 2. So I would super highly recommend, anybody hasn't seen it, go check it out. Give the show a watch. It's beautiful. It's just an amazing introduction to a whole new world. It's so rich and vibrant with, like, these scenes. It's hard for me to honestly explain the way that you'll see these characters, like, open up a strange looking seed pod that they've gotten out of a plant, and then, like, dunk that into a small pool of liquid that was excreted by some other creature, that then opens to reveal this, like, next step, and you just find yourself totally lost in this whole, like, run of sequence of things interacting and kind of working towards their goal. So highly recommend, anybody feels like this applies to them, go watch that show so we can get a second season of it.
It's wicked trippy.
Really good. Really good.
It's
Can I
so
watch it with
good.
my kids?
Yes, I would
No.
say it's maybe a little bit dark themes in some ways, but there's nothing in it that's, like, overtly, I think, bad for kids, like, under the age of 13 or so.
Yeah, I would say like little kids probably not, but like teenagers you can probably watch it with. Like there's nothing overtly like super mature in it. It has like maybe like some like little grittiness to it, maybe like some slight sexual things, but nothing like obscene. So
I watched it then questioned life, so I don't know.
I was actually just thinking about a scene of that when I was walking today. Yeah, it's got so many really well thought out scenes. It's so good, and it's so visually rich. You definitely give it a watch. It's super good.
Okay, amazing. Well, we're just about 10 minutes out. I feel like we should cover the Cult Content Chronicle. So this week we've got issue 73 of the Cult Content Chronicle, compiled by
The illustrious
Tanya Del Rey every damn week.
Weekend.
There it is. Okay, so I'm getting some requests in the chat. What was the name of the show again?
Oh, yes. Sorry, it's called
Scavenger's
Scavenger's Reign.
Sca-
I pinned it to the top of the space here, and I will also drop a link in Secret Tower for people to find it easily.
Scavenger's Reign. So you can maybe watch it with your teenagers. It's rated TV MA, and it made Jitsi question life. So you'll get a beautiful experience, but maybe a little bit of nihilism. So here we go. In this Cult Content Chronicle, we open up with Jitsi. Jitsi, tell us about your comic book.
Oh snap! Yeah, yeah, we have like a 29-page comic book. We've had it for like a year plus. So Waz and I got together, a couple people, and I wrote it. Waz helped get the people together to make it through Artist T, who's a really great artist, and we kind of just like collaborated on it and made it a year ago. And I just like have this finalized comic book called Rat Quest that like has some features of wizards in the community. Waz included, and myself, and a few others, but I just like don't know what to do with it. We have it ready to go for something, but we just like have it in our back pocket. It's beautiful though. Like the art on it is just baffling to me. Ernest T's just so good, So yeah, we have a cool comic. I mean, arguably the first comic ever made. Forgotten Runes, so it's cool, but I don't know what to do with it.
Amazing. Well, we should just talk to Bear and get it printed and hand it out.
Something like that, yeah. So I put a preview out there, and I have way more pages, so maybe I'll tease some stuff here and there. But it's just a fun little story.
Amazing. So you can see a preview page up top. I'm sharing all these tweets along. We've got some more art by the incredible Daniela Illustra. She says, "Happy Friday, Wizards! Another work in progress of our first comic page. A comic page? Another comic? I feel like a comic by Daniela Illustra is going to have a lot of line work. This looks amazing. She also has another piece of Cash the Crackerjack. Familiars are an important part of the story. And looks like Artsy is also working. Um, let's see, what does Artsy have here? Artsy says we're already working on a collective comic when the Loracle came to life. And so shared another Danielle Illustra piece. One of my favorite pieces this week is this piece by Picasso Trigger 8. So first off, I love Picasso Trigger. I've had my own piece commissioned by them. I think they are just incredible, so fun. This piece I've actually already started using in some of the like decks that I'm working on right now because I'm working on I've been thinking a lot about um, the incentive systems for building the collaborative legendarium. I'll give you a little like preview, which is that this idea that like right now the way that we have it is the first way to monetize an NFT, like the nouns model, for example, is that you have your NFT and that you spread the idea of the brand and of the character, and then the value accrues to like that NFT. But like the most coarse way of monetizing it is like you sell the NFT in the future and you make your money back. But the problem there is that like you're so attached to your character, right? Like why would Matto ever want to sell Magus Devon to the Quantum Downs? And so kind of solving that problem was part of the issue, like what we were solving with our IP rights, which we issued a couple of years ago. And the idea there is that you're able to monetize your character, and then like collectively, as we grow the brand, you're able to kind of monetize your individual character through like merch and comics. And we've got Magus Devon on the comic issue 4 cover, and um, but I think that there's ways to even break this down a little bit further, right? I think that there are probably ways to like create this artwork, to collect it, to do a better job around like collecting and archiving the art that sort of like never makes it into the formal book of lore, right? There's so much art that gets shared on Twitter and on Discord and Farcaster, like on social media, that just sort of gets lost to the feed. And it's too heavy to connect your wallet and post it to the book of lore. The book of lore is like mostly character oriented. And so how do we build a system that incentivizes like archivists to collect these images and like persist them in something that's permanent, like let's say ARWeave? And then there's this idea of curation. How do we incentivize, like prevent bad actors from spamming it? How do we encourage kind of curating so that you can find the freshest stuff, the best stuff, bubble to the top? And then within that system, being able to still monetize IP using on-chain rights for like licensing IP, and then underpinning there is training kind of the Loracle and being able to do this like model training for both the visuals, like you see with Magus Devon again, being kind of like a trailblazer there, but also being able to develop the characters further, develop the world further, develop the storylines further in an AI assisted way. So I think that like we're on the cusp of kind of being the future of media, and especially in the case of being like a monetizable, decentralized IP, and we're like looking to build incentive systems around that. So that's a little preview of some of the stuff I'll be talking about pretty soon. But and this image from Picasso Trigger is an important one because it's like, okay, so Matto, it has a video of Magus Devon, which was created by this artist, and how can like when there's a monetization event of this piece of content, like they both earn. That's something I've been thinking a lot about. So, moving on, and I've talked a lot. Entropy, why don't you take over a bit for sharing some of these things from the Content
Yeah,
Chronicle?
for sure. Okay, next up we have some work from Feckless. Answering the question of, okay, but what if there was a whole society of overly erudite fish people that populated the unmapped oceans of the Runeverse with this fantastic pixel creation of this, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly how I would, he feels like he's got catfish whiskers on him, and a similar green as maybe some other characters in our Runeverse. I wonder if there's maybe a connection there.
Looks yellow to me.
Yeah, we recently have discovered how much ocean there is on the backside of the world after the runic
the kobolds
self-governance.
of the underwater.
Yeah, would love to fill that out. You want to ping pong, or you want me to take a few?
Go take a few. You're good. Yeah.
All right, cool. Coming up next, Dim.eth has been building a baboon army. We're apparently rebranding Forgotten Babooniverse. I didn't get this memo, but I'll get hard at work on creating some more graphics and changing over all the social accounts. I think Dim has bought like 3 or 4 baboon familiar characters in the last like week or two. And so just continuing on with the
More.
theme, more is it more? Even spinning out some merch. Dim, I'm not gonna lie, I would totally wear that shirt. This tropical tee with baboons in the leaves. That's the vibe. I like it.
Oh, we're due for a new merch line. I've wanted to do Dota's merch line since last time we did merch, and man, that baboon shirt, it might make the cut. A version, we'll see.
Give me
So good.
Dota dolls.
Yeah, yeah.
Some more amazing work from DOX Lab or DOX Lab. I still am on the fence of how I'm supposed to pronounce, but an incredible, prolific artist that's just shown us some amazing generations lately. I love this mischievous smile of this orange-hatted wizard here. Very cool work. We've also got
And DowX Labs also done a this Nintendo glitch art of a toad. Love it, love it. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I said that DowX Lab would not tell me how he did those images, and he messaged me. He's like, "When did you ask? I didn't tell you. I wouldn't tell you. Here's how I did it." So, sorry for ruining his reputation. But he reached out and he told me exactly how to do it, and it's really incredible. Um, Jay of the Sun, Jason, has been doing more dancing Wizzy videos. He and I have been having some good conversations about AR Weave and maybe the next generation of persistence for the Book of Lore. We'll have more of that. Castamere with another excellent under construction worker of everyone's favorite Nosferatu. Oh man, yeah. When I worked construction, I'm pretty sure I worked with him. The just prolific Meeple Dad is announced that he is running for the FRWC Council. Oh yeah, I don't know that I talked about this on Wizard Wednesday. I forget if I did or not. So myself and Waz and Jitsi, we're going to step back from the House of Wizards. We're like super duper happy with kind of where it is. You know, we got the legal setup finally, and we're able to do it's got its own governance and its own board, and it's like legally registered with the proper authorities. And so yeah, but one of the things that happened is when we started the DAO, none of those people worked for Magic Machine, and now a bunch of them do. And so it just kind of felt like it was time to make sure that we didn't let the point of that organization is to be this sort of decentralized unit apart from Magic Machine that can kind of help grow Forgotten Runes. So we are stepping back, and that means there's 3 people who 3 spots open. So if you want to run to be on the Forgotten Runes House of Wizards Special Council, you should run. There, you can look in the HowDAO channels of Discord to give more information there. Yeah, also Fabula, also running for Forgotten Council seat. So we've got that. And Zayla Soul. Who else am I missing? Anybody else? That's all I
think
know.
that's the only posts that I've seen publicly. I've been trying to make sure to repost them from main accounts so they get some nice reach and
But
stuff.
did
If
someone
anybody
say
else is applying though, you let me know.
You can also
Only 3 that we've seen in the council so far.
Yeah, you can also nominate people if there's anybody that you feel like is would be a good pick, and maybe you can talk to them or whatever. But you can throw any names up. Of course, they have to accept the nomination themselves, right? You can't just throw somebody into Lion's Pit and be like, ha ha ha. But if you feel like there's somebody who's a good
Entropy.
fit, yeah, Entropy, yeah.
It is my time.
You can just nominate people and then probably get something working together with them. So you don't have it doesn't have to be you. If you have somebody that you have in mind, you can throw their nomination up on the list and we can see where we can go from there.
Okay, amazing. My Meeple Dad has Riddle in the Dark Day 163, and there was Magic Monday News. The special guest then was Nard and Soda. And Suggested Lore is back with a new piece about the lore for the undesirable White Coffin. So, yeah, that is today's Magic Monday news. That is today's Cult Content Chronicle. Well, we had some topics to talk about celebrity coins and Iggy Azalea, but I think we're out of time. So is there anything else you guys want to cover before we wrap it up?
No.
No?
No, not here. Good
Yeah,
show.
nothing for me. Go watch Scavenger's Reign.
All right. Well, this has been Dotta, Nalgene, Entropy, Matazuki, Jitsi, Tad Major, signing out from the Quantum Downs. Good night, everybody.